I'm back. Let's go. Welcome to Last Chance Q with myself, Coach JB and Sean Salisbury.
We will not talk over the amateur or under the expert.
It's not only the X's and O's, but it's about the Jimmys and Joes.
And it's not just quarterbacks. We got all the positions, teaching, coaching, laughing, and joking.
We're using football terminology so we can get through this faster than we don't want to use these long terms, Coach. We got quick verbiage to get to the point. Last Chance Q with the great legendary Sean Salisbury. What up, man? Welcome in another Sunday NFL pregame extraordinaire with my main man, Jeff Nadu. All things betting, picking, and insight. And Sean Salisbury, legendary quarterback, USC Trojan, and NFL quarterback who is, by the way, I'm going to let his nuts hang for you, undefeated versus John Elway. But nobody understands that. Nobody realizes
you love
that.
going to that. Well, don't leave out Steve Young and Favre either. Hell, if we're going to go, we might as well go all in, right?
You undefeated versus him too?
Yeah.
Well.
But guess what? They did it like 400 games. I did it like 4 or 5. Okay.
What up, Jeff? Good to have you guys.
Jeff's coming out mean mugging, isn't he? Jeff's got that mean mug going on. Look at a little smile. There you go. See? Look,
Let's get it going.
That's right.
Hey, Jeff's serious right now. I take it we didn't have a great weekend last week. Jeff's ready to fucking get it going today, so that's why.
Yeah, I don't think it was terrible. I mean, I don't know that I would bet on the Panthers again, but I hit the Colts. I hit the Bengals or Patriots. I hit some. It's week 1. It's a tough week.
It's a marathon, right?
It is.
Yep. Got to stay in it.
Week. Yeah, it is a tough week. We're going to have some DFS picks of the week today too as well, Sean. We're going to also have our predictions of the week, and then we're going to have Jeff's play of the week. So we're going to have all that this weekend on this show. So, guys, pound that like, subscribe, become a member of this show each Sunday, the best NFL show on planet Earth. Jeff, Sean, real quick, what's your biggest takeaways from last week's, first week in the NFL, first week's takeaways, good or bad? Jeff, go ahead. What was your biggest takeaway? I know you think the Panthers should probably be the 7th team addition into the Pac-12 in college, but besides that, what did you see? I saw some bad football.
Yeah, I think it's something that you talk about on your show a lot. I know Sean knows a lot about this. You guys both do. The quarterback play in the NFL just continues to be just poor. I mean, there's some really good quarterbacks in the NFL. I thought Aaron Rodgers that Jets team looked really bad. I thought on both sides of the ball. Defensively, I think they're a complete joke defensively. A lot of people think they're great and all, but they were blown off the ball. I think outside of Sauce Gardner, that secondary is bad. Rodgers looked kind of like a 40-ish-year-old quarterback off an injury. But I think overall the quarterback play is poor.
Yeah, Sean?
Yeah, my takeaway is that it almost felt the first week of the season, and to piggyback on Jeff, the quarterback play and the lack of, yards or just where we were left in like a wow factor, like look how good the quarterback play is, was a few teams trying to impose their will in the run game. 49ers did not go away from it against the Jets team, and that's a backup running back. You saw guys, I said on my show in the offseason that I thought one of the 5 biggest pickups in the league this offseason was Joe Mixon at running back. I did. I just feel just the physicality and what they've lacked. They can pass protect, and they didn't do it very well last week, but they imposed their will running the football, which is just another advantage for the way Stroud throws it. They are doing what the 49ers do, and obviously Bobby Slowick and D'Amico being 49er guys, they've wanted to do that, and they've got as close as they can get with Mixon. It's not McCaffrey. But you saw the 49ers didn't abandon. It's one thing to tell us you want to run it. It's another thing to commit to it even after you go a couple 3-and-outs. And it looked to me like the Texans, and I know I'm local here, but it felt across the league like teams were trying to send a physical message instead of a finesse message. I fully expect it to get back to a little more normal the next couple weeks, but I was impressed with individuals that even with injuries or a new guy like Mixon to the lineup, how important it was for them to weave them into what they're trying to get done, which only makes them better. And I thought that we saw some teams that were really overrated. And I'll tell you another thing that stuck out to me. Sam Darnold looked in week 1 like a starting quarterback in the NFL. Now, can he sustain it? Played pretty solid football, and he's been careless in the past, and you know how we feel about Darnold. So the physicality of a few teams that are finesse that added some physical nature was impressive to me.
One other thing, just to piggyback on your Joe Mixon point, I don't think we can just flip a switch in week 2 or week 3 and think that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to figure anything out. This group looked horrific last week. I mean,
I was shocked by that, Jeff. I really was. Weren't you? Yeah.
I mean, Joe Burrow was I think Joe Burrow's hurt. I've discussed his inability early in the season, the first 3-4 games. Throw in the fact that you lose Mixon, which you talked about. He goes to Houston. T. Higgins is out. Jamar Chase is annoyed and pissed off and, there, but is he really involved and interested? Jermaine Burton, their rookie receiver, he hasn't played. He's out. What do you have there in that offense now? I mean, it's just an ugly, ugly offense. I don't know what is going on in Cincinnati, but they're not going to flip it anytime soon. And now you got to go play and, deal with the Chiefs now.
And it felt like Rodgers, Burrow, Cousins were all coming out of these injuries, treading lightly on their movement in the pocket. I don't think it didn't look to me like Cousins was 100% healthy. Burrow's still coming off that, and Rodgers didn't look as mobile and that feeling of that quick twitch that he has. Now maybe they'll get it back, but I know this, having shredded my knee the next year coming out of it, you still, regardless how confident you may be, there's still that what if. So you got to get used to it. And when the real bullets are flying, it's different than preseason. That most of those guys didn't play much, if any, anyway. So yeah. There's some teams that got some issues, and I'm not sure, kind of like Florida State in college, I'm not sure they can fix them as urgently as we think they can.
And remember, too,
go ahead, Jeff.
Real quick, just one other point. With Chase, if you're any team, you just, double him. I mean, they don't have anybody else to throw the ball to. Who are you going to throw to? This kid out of Princeton? And they have nothing. They don't have any other options, and they can't lean on the run. Like, look at what Houston did last week. Houston used Joe Mixon as a workhorse. He was terrific. Yeah. They have issues defensively, and I think tonight you may see a shootout in that game. But all in all, just don't overreact about everything. A lot of the time, it'll come back to haunt you in week 2 and week 3.
Hey, if I said fact or fiction, Jeff, Sean, Aaron Rodgers actually looked good. He just didn't get the ball. They had 9 possessions on offense. True. 9 possessions, Sean. I look at that game, and that game just never. He has a drop ball on 3rd and 6 to start the first drive off by Lazard, who was a guy he's been with forever, who had 2 touchdowns in the game that meant nothing, but he drops that ball, which was bigger than the 2 touchdowns, in my opinion. And that, for a quarterback shot, I don't know, not to dive too deep into it because we're going to get into these picks, but that fucks up your rhythm right out the gate. You drop the first down, and then they don't get the ball, they punt it, and then they play decent defense. They get the ball back again, and they get a tip ball pick. And other than that, I thought Aaron Rodgers was dotting it. I thought he looked on time. I thought he was on rhythm. I thought his feet looked good. I just don't think he had the ball enough.
Yeah, and I'm not from 1 second here to say he looked – I guess I'm so spoiled by him that when he looks different than what and maybe the possessions were why it got skewed, right? Oh, I think if Rodgers is healthy for 17 games, he'll be in the MVP talk. I do believe that because he's such a great thrower of the football. I guess he set the bar so high. It looked for him pedestrian, but maybe it's the 9 possessions. I can tell you this though, that Rodgers wasn't a reason. They got their ass handed to him up front.
Yeah,
they got moved and bullied.
I agree with Jeff.
Team. They got pushed around like they were a double-A team trying to or a spring league team trying to play an NFL team up front. They got hammered. So I expect them to be better. And I'm not listen. The least of my concern on the Jets is the guy who plays quarterback. When the overall we overreact and to too much shit, whether it's a game or a team.
Let me ask you guys, Jeff. Overreaction or undervalued. Sauce Gardner to me looks like he doesn't hit the weight room. He will not tackle. He pulled himself out for 9 plays. They said that there was no injury listed. He just pulled himself out. I don't know if that's a Robert Saleh problem or not. It sounds like it might be, Jeff, Sean. And then Garrett Wilson, to me, I'm starting to lean. I hate to say it because I got a player on that team that is a big, impactful guy, Jermaine Johnson. And I love that I love the roster for years. Jeff and I have been talking about the roster on my show every day. And I know Sean talks about it on the Sean Salisbury show every morning. it's been great. I'm like, oh, that's Super Bowl roster, blah, blah, blah. I'm kind of leaning with Jeff, man. Is this a bad nucleus? Is this a bad nucleus? Because Garrett Wilson seems like he may be overrated. He doesn't hit the weights. It looks like he's unphysical. He can't get off prep. I'm like, ugh.
And throw in the fact that you have a coach who is pretty inept. You have an offensive coordinator that's pretty inept and notoriously bad. Defensively, as Sean said, they were completely blown off the ball. I mean, they were bad in the trenches. They gave up over 400 yards. The Niners ran 70 plays compared to just 49 for the Jets.
49 plays.
The only thing that I really like about
that's
the
like
Jets
that's like 2.5 quarters of football, basically 3 quarters of football, right?
Yeah, you just can't win doing things like that. Their run defense was horrific. I mean, and remember, it wasn't Christian McCaffrey running for what he ran for. It was a guy who I think a lot of people had no idea who he was coming into last week. Just really questionable stuff. Throw in that now you got to go on a shorter week per se and go play a Titans team who I thought in the first half looked awesome against the Bears. It's interesting. Think if you threw Aaron Rodgers on the Titans, right? Because it seems like the one thing they lack is a quarterback, right? You like the moves they made. The Jets have real questions, and you don't have a coach that's just going to flip it and fix things quick.
He's going to get fired if they don't make the playoffs. He's going to lose his job. Now, real quick, think about the AFC East. You talk about overvalue, undervalue, overrated, underrated, what have you, or properly rated. New England guts there. I mean, they go in and really they didn't give any respect to the Cincinnati Bengals. They just didn't. And it paid off. And Brissett, they just grind. They're going to, Mayo's going to keep them in games. They're no threat of being a Super Bowl team, but I do love their toughness, and I always have. They find ways. Now, I don't know if they can sustain that. We may have we had the Jets, some of us winning the division and doing it, and it's 1 week, and we may be overrating, panicking, but you still got 1 week to watch because we may have overvalued the Jets early on. We may have undervalued Buffalo. I know that. I don't know how Josh Allen can keep doing this and carrying him like he does, but damn, they're playing some pretty solid football, and they've been tested to come back and win a game. They go out and do their thing. And then, the Miami Dolphins, the Tua situation, are they physical enough, and can they last without him for a couple weeks or however long that's going to be? So, I mean, you start to look at that division, and I don't think they can in Miami. I think if he throws on time, he's accurate with the football. That's a question. We tell him he should retire. You can't tell a mid-20s kid when it's time for him to retire because concussions aren't tangible for the player. On Wednesday, you feel like you're back ready to play, unlike a torn Achilles that's more tangible. You can't play. So telling a player to come back or not come back is like, man, because you think you can because of concussion. Sometimes you don't have the sick stomach. It's a concussion. But by Wednesday, you're like, I'm ready to play again. It's like, whoa, we got protocol, dude. Slow your roll. So
his brain's mush, Jeff.
Right. And so it's going to be a minute before.
But Sean, if I'm like a doctor, I'm looking at it and saying, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not even close, but wouldn't you just say, like, you're dealing with life and death here? You could hit again, you could die from this. Of course, but this could be.
Think about this though. Unlike what Connor was it Borland, who for Wisconsin linebacker played a year in San Francisco, played great and said, I'm done playing football, right? Was like in his second year, what have you. And real quick, I don't want to belabor all this. We've heard it all. I can't sit back and tell Tua to retire. Now, you're sitting here looking at from guys who've played, because sometimes those things don't show up for 30 years. And then in your 20s, you're making $53 million. You're competitive. You want to do it. It's not just about the money, but you feel like I don't want to let my organization down. And like I said, when you tear an Achilles, it's tangible. You're walking in a cast. You're not even walking, and you can't do anything for a year. A concussion, and I've been there because I've had a concussion, come back and on Tuesday on the day off the next week, you're like, man, I'm feeling great. And back then, all we did was look at numbers. Nobody had concussion protocol. So you go back and play. You don't want to let your teammates down, so you go back in even though you may not be ready to play the next week. Now, yes, and doctors can control when you get back. But what happens in 2 weeks when they say he's past protocol? Even though we saw and it's dangerous and you start thinking family, I'm with us on that. But to tell a guy who's making that kind of money and it's early in his career, because concussions usually, when concussions in, you're not like throwing up for 2 straight weeks. You're not feeling well. Maybe you're a little lightheaded. But concussions, if it's just a concussion like I had, or where it's a concussion because you forget I forgot a whole second half of the game until I watched it on tape the next day. But then 3 days later, you feel like you're ready to play when you're not.
Yeah.
And telling a young player in the infancy of his career, you need to retire. I know that we have his best interest in mind, but he's going to make that decision. And I'll bet you if the doctors pass him, he ain't retiring right away. unless he takes
Oh,
a step
sure he
back
will.
and
Yeah.
the family says don't do it. But the point is, it's really hard because you say, man, I've been doing this my whole life, and I know health matters. But you know what? It's like a guy who's making money in his career, a lot of money, and spending it. And you think, those guys aren't thinking about retirement at 25. They're thinking about all this money, and then at 60, you're like, damn, I wish I'd have known then. Well, we've been telling you. It's the same with concussions. Obviously, one has to do with health and money. You get my point, right?
I hate to relate it to this, but it's like a drug dealer. A drug dealer knows he's going to get caught eventually. He's made a lot of money, but it's hard to stop.
It is.
I'm not going to get caught. I'm good.
Right.
And then you don't think about it before you know it. You make a dumb mistake and you're sitting in federal prison.
We tell all these players.
Yeah.
We tell, hey, when all these players tell them, like RG3, he was injured and beat up. Remember how big? He injured the knee and he was banged up, and they put him back in the game. Did he retire? No, I'm not dogging RG. I get what he's saying to his best interest, but it's easier from our vantage point to tell him what to do as opposed to say, okay, because in 3 weeks, what if he passes protocol? You know what that player's thinking? I'm never going to get another concussion. Looking after his best interest, but you can tell how much Mike loves him and how competitive the kid is. I hope whatever decision he makes, it works out great for him. But when you watch it from our vantage point, it's like, damn, dude, this is danger zone. But then what about the linebacker who gets a damn near see stars every game? We don't talk about him. We don't talk about the left tackle who's beating heads against Micah Parsons and he's seeing stars. It's the quarterback because we see him stumble and get out. But I hope he makes the decision best. But that division's getting crazy. But for Tua's health, okay, if I said here's $10,000, bet it. You think he's retiring or playing football again? You guys tell me.
I would say play again.
Yeah, I'd say play.
Whether it's right or wrong, he's going to play.
I don't know if I hate to be the guy to say, oh, you need to retire. I've had Sean King on the show this week, and Weddle, Eric Weddle, and all these NFL guys, and Eric played the safety position and hit at people his whole career. And are you going to tell the guy that makes $100K a year, the guy that's in the mines and the construction workers and the businesses that we've all grew up in as blue collar citizens, as us three have, and our fathers did, and how our fathers were? We didn't say we had to retire from inhaling shit all day in a construction zone, and nobody cared about
my dad
us.
His life. My dad.
Nobody cared about us, though.
Right.
Nobody cared about us. See, that's what I'm saying.
My dad died from mesothelioma 40 years after he started doing it, and you never think it's going to be you. And at 67 years old, you get
Todd, my dad was a diesel mechanic. He used to eat Wonder Bread fucking sandwiches at lunch, and I'd see the fingerprints of grease on the Wonder Bread.
There you go. So
that probably wasn't healthy to eat.
And here's what it is with Tua, and we can move on, is the same things that you love about him is for professional athletes, like you're talking about Weddle. Yeah, you love the fact that they're competitive and say, it's not going to be me. I'm fighting through this. I admire that toughness. And sometimes players got to be helped to get out of our own way, right? And then the other side of it is I admire the toughness, but it's like the same things that make you great are the same things that you have trouble walking away from because it's what made it stubbornness. It's never going to happen to me again. I'm not going to be the guy. I got mine. It just can't happen again, right? I've got my 3 out of the way. And so it's going to be a slippery slope. Whatever decision, I hope the guy's healthy. But it's really hard to sit back and say, you need to retire. From our vantage point, it's easy. From his vantage point, it's a much different, considering you walk away. It'll be a lot of prayer and thought for Tua and his family in the next couple of years.
But we all care about these guys. Sorry, Jeff. We all care about these guys, but at the end of the day, I don't feel sorry for them. They make a lot of money.
They know the risk.
We chose to play, Sean. You and I chose to play this game, and they make a lot of fucking money. I'm not going to sit here and cry over spilled milk either.
Yep, he'll make a decision that his family decides is best for him, and then the doctors and the Miami Dolphins have to make sure that they are doing the right thing before that. Every protocol has to be solid, and then you got to make the decision: are you going to run him back out there?
But here's the truth that most of us regular folks don't face, right? And then we'll move on. At the end of the day, if he never plays again, he'll make over $100 million guaranteed that they still owe him, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So again, he'll never have to work again. He can do what he wants,
right?
And he can be there for his children and his wife and his future grandchildren. So look, I'm not saying he'll die, but he has a much bigger risk than a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
3 concussions in 2 years is.
And you know what? It'll also tell you if he comes back and plays with that guaranteed, and just so people understand, when you sign a guaranteed contract with the G word, That covers you in injuries and everything. That money is his, unless he does something conduct detrimental that's in that contract. Injuries, he gets all that money. But would also tell you about guys like him, if he comes back and plays, that he's playing because he loves it, because $100 million should sustain you and a couple other generations for some. But yeah, you're right. So I listen, those decisions, sometimes it's easier. In truth, guys, like my buddy Sterling Sharp, who should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way, with his, he was on pace to be catch more balls than anybody. Yeah. Sterling Sharp with that neck injury was, and I don't mean you want to retire. Him and I have had a lot of conversations, but sometimes it's harder to, when you're in that purgatory, like, well, I can come back. It's not, I think I can come back from these concussions. I passed protocol. It's almost at the end of your career when somebody comes up to you and says, you can't play anymore. You're never passing this physical. You can't play, because then you take the decision out of your hands. Do you get what I'm saying? Well, I was going to keep playing, but I can't. It's when it's sitting in the middle and you know you can, and the doctors have cleared you, but you're setting, well, 25 years from now, what's this movie going to look like? It's really hard for all of us. Hell, I still look at things and say, man, I don't want to do it. Right.
So Jeff's point, I don't believe people realize Tua did not have kids, Jeff, when he got that first concussion in 22. He just had some kids now. So his life's going to change. So he has to make that grown man decision.
God bless
Jeff,
him.
let's dive into some football. You guys, we're here for the realest show on Planet Earth for this pick'em week. We got a week 2 slate. And we're going to give our predictions later on. I have an interesting one, but we had 16 quarterbacks, Sean, throw for under 200 yards. The most in history, and we averaged 183 yards as a NFL quarterback last week. 32 quarterbacks averaged 183 yards, the 5th lowest of all time. I just think that preseason football is what we're watching right now, and I don't believe we'll see real season football for about 3 or 4 weeks. And even then, I think it's going to be still continue to be pretty mediocre quarterback play. But here's the slate, Jeff, and this is a team Sean dropped in earlier, talked about Buffalo and Miami. We just watched that game on Thursday night. I agree. Buffalo, I think, is better because it's addition by subtraction. They lost Diggs, who I thought was a headache, even though Diggs went out in Sean's neck of the wood, had 2 touchdowns in Houston. Hopefully it works out for him. Each his own. But it looks like Josh Allen's playing like MVP caliber Josh Allen this year, I believe. And I think he's better, more free, stress-free. And I think Buffalo's better for it. They're running the football with Cook, and they're making plays on defense. And I think Buffalo will be better than a lot of people thought, Jeff. So I don't know where you at with that. But let's start right out the 10 in the morning slates. Damn, babe, we don't have the one with the times on it, huh? I don't want to fuck this up. All right, let me get the 10 in the morning games. We'll just go from there. Where you at with this first game? Saints,
Raiders, Ravens.
Saints, Cowboys right out the gate, right here on Fox, Arlington Stadium. Sorry, we'll start with that. Saints, Cowboys right out the gate. First game, slate. We'll just go through. I'll just read the times down the list. So Saints, Cowboys, Jeff, Sean, where you guys at with this one?
Well, look, I mean, I think both teams really impressed in week 1. Obviously, look at the opponent. The Saints played a group in Carolina who I think we could all agree is the worst team in the NFL, regardless of who they have. But I thought we'd see a much better Carolina, more improved Carolina, but they're really bad at every level, whether it's the offensive line, the quarterback. They don't have many weapons. They can't run the ball. The defense isn't good. They turn the ball over. There's just a lot of things to just hate about the Panthers. The Saints look good, though. You'll never see a Derek Carr look better than that, I don't think. Throw in the fact, you look at the Cowboys. They were terrific, beat a really good Brown defense. That said, Deshaun Watson looked lost and couldn't move the ball. It's hard for me to fade the Cowboys at home. They won every game last year at home by more than 7 points and all but one by more than 2 touchdowns. That said, I really thought we saw a hungry Saints team. I just don't really like their coach. I don't like betting on him ever. I don't like long-term betting on Carr either. This is not a game I will bet personally, but I lean the Cowboys. My issue here, though, guys, and there's a lot of this going on today. There's a lot of 5, 6, 7-point favorites. A lot of people will make those teams. They'll throw them in parlays at money line wins. They'll put them in teasers. 1 or 2 of these is going to lose. Something tells me I can't fade the Cowboys. They're too good at home, and they blow teams out over the last couple of years at home.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm with you. I was going to hit that point. The Cowboys are as good at home as anybody in the league, and they proved that last year. And I don't see any reason why that should change. With the Saints aren't as good as that score last week. I could tell you that right now. They just beat a AAA team. They beat a team that we all said, hey, improved on the offensive line. Bryce Young should be better and better wide receivers. And they went out there and they completely shit themselves last week. They did. Now, one thing we know, New Orleans' defense is always going to be good. Dennis, they know how to play some defense. And their offense was, like I said last week, top 10 scoring, which was shocking to a lot of people. They'll score some. I think they're somewhere in the middle, the Saints. They may not be the best team in the division. Last week they looked like it. They'll be competing for that. And they're not a world beater either. So they're somewhere in between. I think there's a little more humble pie coming this week because the Cowboys are a good team. My thing with the Cowboys, and first off, Saints, you better find 4 guys to block Parsons. You better have an answer for that cat. And can the Cowboys sustain throughout the season, not in this game, but this season, a run game that doesn't put every ounce of pressure on Dak Prescott throughout? I'm talking about a consistent 17 games. Cowboys win this, and I ain't fading them either. I like them at home. The Saints may keep it close, but I think the Cowboys in the end, they win by a touchdown or so.
You made a good point about Parsons and that defensive line, right? Because that Saints offensive line coming into the season is one of the worst in the league. And they didn't have any worry last week about the Carolina Panthers, but it's all different this week, throwing the fact that it's on the road. Again, I can understand making a point maybe for the Saints, but long-term in this spot, Dennis Allen is not good against the spread, and Derek Carr is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league against the spread. I think you have to lean Dallas here. But again, I didn't bet this one.
Hey, what do you – real quick, I would take the Cowboys because of the inconsistency of Derek Carr. But Sean, can Derek Carr replicate what he did last week? I mean, we've always broke him down. You and I used to break him down on the original Last Chance Q, and we just don't think consistency is in his DNA, and I don't think the it factor is in his DNA. But real quick, can he replicate last week? Because if he does, they're in the game. I've never seen Derek Carr do it back-to-back weeks.
If he replicates last week, a couple guys from Dallas have decided to miss the team bus on defense. And I think Carr's a solid player, but I know this in talking to a former coach that was on staff with him, said he works his ass off. Great kid, tough as hell. Hit him early and watch the way it affects his game. Now, he has come from behind in games in the past. I know that, but when he was with the Raiders. But he said you hit him early, and there's a different effect with him and where the ball comes out and how often. If the Cowboys knock him around early, you may see a different result. Respect for Derek Carr. Do I think he can sustain this and do this week in and week out like he did his MVP caliber season that year that he missed with a broken leg late, and Connor Cook had to come in and play the Texans in the playoffs? I don't know if he's got that in him, but he gives the Saints a chance to win, but I just don't know if he can sustain it, especially in close games if it is on a regular basis.
He also doesn't –
He's never win a Super Bowl. He is not going to play in a Super Bowl in New Orleans. I believe that. I really. He
also doesn't have the weapons either.
That's exactly in defense of him. He's a really good player. He falls into the category that a bunch of guys fall in. You got the elite, and then there's about 10 of them in the middle, and then there's 12 of them, and then there's the bottom third that we know who they are regularly. He falls into that the middle class, the second half of the middle class. He'll put up some numbers, but I don't think you're ever going to see him crown a Super Bowl champion no matter where he is. But I do respect him and think he's a good player. I just don't think he's got that it factor you're looking for that we see in the guys we know are there.
Mm-hmm. All right, Bailey's keeping us on track here. We got next game up, Sean, is Lions Bucks. Jeff, Lions Bucks is our next one up in the morning game. A lot of big morning slate here. 10 a.m. on the West Coast, 1 p.m. on the East Coast. Bucks Lions. Where are you guys at with those, Jeff?
Yeah, this is another one where you're laying over a touchdown or around a touchdown. It's hard for me to fade the Lions, especially with the Bucks. They have some real problems in that secondary from an injury standpoint. They were another team that weren't particularly tested last week. They played a rookie quarterback. He had some issues kind of early on. Look, I think that this is abundantly clear. The Washington Commanders defense is bad yet again. That's another bad secondary. So the fact that the Bucs are ready to move the ball, I'm not ready to kind of roll in and say the Bucs are going to be great again this year. We know Todd Bowles is going to blitz Jared Goff a lot. They've got a great offensive line, plenty of weapons. This screams double-digit win to me. I think the Lions kind of do what they do, win 31-21, something like that, 31-17. I don't mean to be square and bet all favorites, but I had a hard time feeling like the Bucs would go and do much to the Lions. Lions are really good. That's a real good home team. And they did what they had to do. They beat a team last week at home that they may have lost to in years past. I like Detroit by double digits here.
Well, you guys know how I feel about the Lions. I got them in the NFC Championship game, and right now, I mean, I know the 49ers and the Eagles, but I think there's a legitimate chance for them to be in the Super Bowl. I do now. Mm-hmm. It feels weird coming out of my mouth saying that, but I do. I love the coach, and I think they're really good. This is one where I rarely disagree with Jeff on picks and point spreads. I actually think Tampa's tough enough to hang in there. This has backdoor cover written all over it. You're up 13. They go down and score a touchdown, make it a 6-point win. I know on the surface, I think Detroit's a better team. I think Detroit's a more talented team, a younger team with a good mix of veterans. But this just feels like, okay, maybe a tip ball turnover and you get a short field for Tampa. Baker grinds it out. The Detroit Lions are going to win. But I actually think this game's going to be closer than the point spread, and I think they're going to get inside it. It just reeks of for me, 24-20 type game, 23-17, and you get a late 23-10 late, and they throw a late touchdown pass because Detroit's playing, base coverage, and they go and get in the end zone, and that's the way it ends, and they kneel down for the victory. I think it's closer than we think.
Yeah, again, I'm the same way as I am on Derek Carr with Baker Mayfield. Consistency, can he replicate week in, week out? He threw 4 touchdowns last week. He looked great. Fantasy people out there probably salivating on Baker's numbers with Mike Evans and that combination. But can he do it each and every week? The Lions at least were battle-tested, overtime thriller versus the Rams. I don't think the Bucs got tested that way. And I think the Lions show up today and learn a little bit from what the Rams did to them. And go ahead.
Let me just ask one question. And you guys are good football men here. I mean, I'm always fascinated at Mike Evans. And Mike Evans is one of the most underrated players in the history of this league. I mean,
underrated wideout.
I mean, he is an insane player. How many years? 10, 12 years consistently every year. He is
10 straight.
Yeah, and look, he's had some great quarterbacks. He's had some bad quarterbacks along the way, but he is as consistent as it gets.
Yeah, no doubt.
Jeff, that's the key. He's done it with no matter who. It's like Andre Johnson. When Andre was a Texan, he had all these quarterbacks. He didn't have the luxury of getting Watson for his career or what Stroud. Imagine if he had a C.J. Stroud or a Warren Moon here in Houston for 12 years. Same way, big physical guy, player, dominant. Doesn't talk much about his own game and just produces every friggin' week.
Yep. And that's another great point. He's not one of these me guys.
Right. I love him, man. And he just keeps doing it. And there is, to me, if he retires today, 5 years from the day, the dude's a first ballot Hall of Famer. This isn't, well, maybe he didn't get all the pub. Screw the pub. We're missing out on a great career. Enjoy it because he's done it with a lot of different bodies. He's done it with a bunch of guys like me. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I've ever heard the guy talk. No ego. No, just he catches the football, does a dance, and goes back to the
love him. Friggin' love him. And
our Wednesday guest on the Coach AB show, Noel Mazzoni, coached him at Texas A&M, and I recruited a kid that Kerryon Parker from Manville, right there in Houston, who also was at A&M during the same time that played for me in JUCO. Great guy. Everything I know. Up next, guys, Packers Colts. I think it's Packers Colts up next. My bad.
Colts at Packers. Yep.
Colts at Packers. Where are we at with that one? This is an interesting morning game. The Green Bay Packers without Jordan Love. This will be the Malik Willis era. I believe his numbers are daunting, and that is not a good thing. I believe he has a 39 quarterback rating as a player in the NFL. I believe people that take a knee in the NFL have a 39 rating. Unbelievable. That's a fact. Where are you at with this game, Jeff? And the Colts, can they bounce back from that rough Texans loss? I believe the Colts, you were high on them. They have a really good defense. It's all comes down to AR5, and I just don't think he's sustainable.
Yeah, couple things here. I'm not running to lay points with the Colts. I don't care who it's against. It's also on the road. Keep in mind, Packers coming off the Brazil game. A Brazil game they looked lost defensively in. Jalen Hurts had a few turnovers, and the Eagles still scored 34 points. I mean, that's super concerning if you're a Packer fan. You lose Jordan Love. I look at the Colts. I watched that whole game. I had them last week. AR5 just made some wild throws he probably won't make, and they were high turnover probability throws. Alec Pierce just made some big catches. Not likely to happen again. And, Coach, you mentioned the defense for the Colts. I thought they were horrific last week. They could not get off the field seemingly at all. And look, here's my issue, and here's why I won't play this game. I'm no longer betting on quarterbacks I know likely aren't going to be very good. I'm done doing it. I think, to me, you probably just have to hope the Colts defense bounces back. You are getting this under a field goal. I know a lot of guys that say, wow, this number maybe is too low. It's a hard game. Another game I'm probably going to not be betting. I didn't bet either of these 3 games to begin with, and I'm not going to start here. I think this is a tough one.
All right, what's the spread on this again, Jeff? Where are we at?
Colts minus 2.5.
Yeah, to me, I'm taking the Colts all day, every day in this one. I don't think they're a different offense without Jordan Love. Malik Willis is going to be confused out his ass today. You watch. I'm just telling you. He can make some plays off schedule, got a rocket launcher arm. The problem is he can throw it through a car wash without getting it wet. I'm not sure he can hit the car wash. Okay. So with that, and AR, I watched every snap because of what it is. And I got news for you. Malik Willis ain't CJ Stroud, and they ain't the Texans, and they sure as hell ain't Joe Mixon in that backfield right now. So I will tell you, I actually believe they were so humiliated defensively that they're going to come out and Malik Willis is going to be running for his life. It may be which quarterback makes better off-schedule plays. And if Anthony Richardson makes 2, he had a guy open by 10 yards on clean throws deep, that if he makes those throws, the Texans are in trouble last week. Yeah. We know he's an enormous skill set, and he made that dig route throw that was beautiful. I mean, he's a talented kid, and he's a big fit at the goal line. He ran him over and got in the end zone. But the Texans won and are a better team, but they got away with a couple guys, too many big plays. He's capable of doing that. It may not look pretty. I think the Green Bay Packers at home are going to get their ass handed to them today. I do. And I think a lot of it's going to be a defensive, humiliated. We didn't come from Brazil. And those can have some carryover. I just don't think Malik Willis can sustain right now, at this infancy of starting right now, all that pressure. I don't think he can handle right now and plus he didn't expect to play 2 weeks ago. Love was the guy. I don't think he can handle 4 80-yard drives. Talented kid. Still got a lot to learn at the position. You give me the Colts in this. The Colts are better than they showed last week, but they ran into a pretty good Texans offense. I think they rejuvenate. I think they go in and win straight up, and I think it's a touchdown victory for the Colts on the road in Green Bay.
I will say as well, this might be some value for bettors out there. I made the total in this game 38. I think 41.5 is probably a little too high. You're going to get a good dose of Josh Jacobs in this game. I think that Colts defense would be better aligned to stop Malik Willis. We could see this game, 16-10, kind of like that Bengal game last week. We can probably surmise that the Packers aren't going to score a ton of points. I don't know, again, if Anthony Richardson, those throws he made last week, he made 2 or 3. They're just kind of just throw the ball up and hope something works out, right? So that's not likely to happen again. I think the under has probably the best value in this game.
And real quick about that, when I say that they didn't have Joe Mixon, I think Josh Jacobs is one of the best, hardest runners in the league. I think, though, if you make them one-dimensional, the front 7 will show up. I don't think you can make them one-dimensional, meaning take away Josh Jacobs and force Malik Willis to beat you. I don't think they can do that. So if you give me 5 tough guys in the league to run the football, Josh Jacobs is one of them. But I think they're going to have a hard time after embarrassed with Mixon last week. They're going to make adjustments. And I don't think Malik Willis can carry the Packers. Like I said, I won't bet this game either. But to me, I didn't even think about the Packers in this game outside of controlling the clock and limiting some possessions. I think if they're going to be a guy who's going to make more plays, Anthony Richardson will make more plays than Malik Willis. And they're going to have to – and they're pissed. They were embarrassed by Joe Mixon last week. They're going to have to change that this week, and it's going to start with the best offensive player that the Packers have, and that guy lines up in the backfield. We do know that.
Yeah, I'm also we're a trifecta here. Colts on this one. Let's I know Jeff's not betting it though, but I'm just taking the money line on this one. Let's dive into the Jets and Titans. Jets got to bounce back, guys, in a bad way. They got to get a win. And I'm going to be honest, I'm taking the Jets all day in this one. I have to, because there's no way they lose this. And now we're talking about firing Robert Saleh probably during the season if they lose this game to a second year, who really I consider a rookie, Will Levis, who shit the bed last week and threw 2 ill-advised throws that cost him that game against the Bears. that broke a NFL franchise record for the Bears, not winning with a rookie quarterback to start the season. I believe Jeff broke that down last week. And then Will Levis goes ahead and gives it to a guy, Caleb Williams, who threw for under 100 yards as a starter. Blew my mind. Will Levis, in my opinion, just cannot get out of his own way. And I don't believe he has the experience or the it factor to win a game, especially against an Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers and the Jets better figure out how to fucking move the football and keep the ball on offense and get first downs. And I believe the Jets win this one. That's just my take. But go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I got to say, I disagree a bit. I think the one thing we forgot last week is how good the Titans defense was. I mean, they were terrific. Under 3 yards of play for the Bears. As you alluded to, though, they screwed the game up, the Titans, in the fact that they had 8 penalties and they had 3 turnovers. And Will Levis is at the top of the heap with that. To me, though, this looks a little sucker bettish to me with the Jets. Wow, they only have to win by 4 or more. They'll bounce back. They can't go 0-2. But again, the Titans really at every level are a solid football team. I just hope Will Levis can just be a game manager. Give Tony Pollard the football. We just talked about it. They had major issues, the Jets, stopping the run. Pollard is better than Jordan Mason, right? That's just the truth. I like that Titans defensive line. I like that secondary. I think they're a little bit undervalued. I lean Titans here. I always liked them in dog roles, particularly as a home underdog. I'll grab the 4. I'll lean with the 4. Again, 4 games that are very tough here. And I just don't like Will Levis, and I don't want to bet on him as a quarterback anymore.
Yeah, I tend to lean, Jeff, with you. I think this is a field goal game. I think that the Jets go in and win. And it would get worse if Levis makes a sideline throw. The problem with Levis is I almost need to get him to take a gummy or something to just settle in, brother, because I don't need to worry about his energy. The guy's a talented guy in energy, but he's careless. And the sideline, throwing to his left and forcing a ball that gets returned for a touchdown. You can't do that in games like this, especially in the NFL when double-digit, I know this isn't, but double-digit spreads are hard to come by. So it's a field goal here. It's a turnover there. It's a fumble here. He's got to protect the ball. I actually think that Tennessee will keep this close. The Jets win in the end, but I'm not so sure it's not a late field goal that has to win it. I don't think it's a blowout.
And remember,
Levis cannot be careless with the football. And if he just relax a little and make me the ordinary play. He trusts his arms so damn much, which I like the confidence, but you can't throw it in cover 3 for us. We know what cover 3 is, but sometimes we joke around and say cover 3 is throwing it to a guy who's covered by 3 cats. Don't throw it there. So love his talent, got to be a better decision maker. Jets win. Tennessee's inside that 4.5 points. I think it's closer than we think.
Remember, short week 2 for the Jets. This kind of has the feel to me last week of what we saw with the Cardinals-Bills, where the Cardinals just kind of kept it right there. They were able to kind of go back and forth a little bit. I like the Titans a lot. I really do.
Wow. It's going to be interesting. Up next, Bailey, we got the very interesting matchup here, Niners-Vikings. Sam Darnold had a very good opening day. I don't know what your guys' takeaway from him was. He's going to play a daunting defense this week with the Niners, who, like I said, I thought Aaron Rodgers looked good against the Niners. They just didn't get enough possessions on offense. So I think you can move the football, on this team. But CMC being out, Jeff, Sean, on the other side, now I think they saw a dose of Mason, who's a rookie. And just remember, running backs, young running backs in this league who start, we get a book on them, and then the very next week are non-existent. I don't know if Mason can carry the load in the manner that Shanahan requires. And I would expect Mason to get a lot of carries, but I don't know if he's going to be as productive as he was week 1 versus the Jets against a decent Minnesota front. I don't know if Aaron Jones can get loose on the 49ers defense, help out Sam Darnold there, get the ball to Justin Jefferson, and Naylor, who is a young wideout, I believe, is going to help out that team. I think it'll be closer than a lot of people expect. I still take the Niners here, but Jeff, go ahead and break that one down.
Yeah, I think you kind of called it how I see it. Keep in mind, this looks like one of those, wow, the Niners only got to win by a touchdown here. I'm all over that. Yet the numbers went from 5.5 to 4.5, which signals to me that smart, sharp people love the Vikings here. And I think they do, because when you look at a Sam Darnold, what makes a quarterback go to the next level? A high-level receiver to throw the football to. They have that in Justin Jefferson. They have a decent run game now. How long has it been since the Vikings had a really great running back? Aaron Jones is a pretty solid guy. You put him in there, the offensive line's improving. That said, they did play the Giants last week, who might be the second worst team in the league. Can the Mason kid have this continued game? That's doubtful. They're also in a short week. I agree with JB here. I think this is also a field goal game. Again, a lot of people are going to lay these numbers, just assume, all these favorites are going to come in. A lot of these favorites, 4, 5, 6 point favorites, are road favorites. It is hard to win on the road in the NFL. These are all NFL teams. We know that. I agree with JB. I think this is within a field goal-ish.
That makes 3 of us. And not only that is that, sustaining it, injuries, teams have some pride. I think this is a late win, and it's inside the number as well. I like the 49ers to win, but I think it's going to be a lot tougher than people think. If Darnold will protect the ball, and their offensive line's pretty solid, and Aaron Jones is a huge pickup. Runs hard, got just under 100 yards last week, and Darnold, 8 different guys caught footballs. When I see a bunch of guys catch footballs, you know what it tells me? 1 is you're just not feeding the beast that's Jefferson because you feel like you have to. You're reading out coverage. And 2, you know where your guys are supposed to be. Distributing the football, it increases your bandwidth. Jones is a good get. The Vikings defense they've got really good linebacking core. They're pretty decent on the edge in the secondary. I actually think the Vikings hang around, and I think it'll be tougher in the run game. But one thing I know about Kevin O'Connell, while he loves to throw it, I got news for you. They want to run it more. And we know the 49, it doesn't matter if Harry Hatchet-ass and Joe Sixpack are running the ball. They'll commit to it. They are not going to let you take them out 2 times in a row, 3 and out, and then abandon the run. They are going to try and shorten the game. And they're so multiple with formations, they create a lot of problems. But I do think that the Vikings, there's a reason when people say, it's just 4.5. There's a reason those people who set the odds in Vegas got it sitting here, these games that are a lot closer than you and I may think. Well, how are the Jets coming off a loss, only 4.5-point favorites against Tennessee on the road after what we saw last week?
And that's why when you just said there, that's when you take yourself from a hobby gambler, like you just do it for fun, to where you can make money consistently, where you can see that the NFL just doesn't throw – like these line makers, they're really good at what they do. By the way, shout out to this kid Mason, right? This is an undrafted free agent, right? And it seems like anytime he's come into the game for this group over the last year or 2, he has done something good. So shout out to him.
Hey, guys, remember, too, listen to what I tell you guys today, fans and chat. Sam Darnold, who I've already told you I think will be the comeback player of the year on my show for the last year or so. And I tell you guys every day he's better than you think. He's just had yet to have any consistency. Do anyone in this chat understand who went against the number 1s every single day in practice last year for the 49ers?
Yeah, Mason.
Sam Darnold.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Darnold was the quarterback against the defense every day. You're talking about
in San Francisco when Darnold was there running
scout team. Sam Darnold was in San Francisco last year. He knows the defense. I would not be surprised if him and O'Connell, the head coach, got together and said, you know what? I know what they do. Now, listen, does that matter on game day? No, because in the game, guess what? Those guys can hit him today. They couldn't hit him in practice. There's a difference. Now that Sam Darnold realized that, drop his nuts and become the guy I think he can be. Knowing what they do, though, is half the battle. I think Sam Darnold will have a little bit of advantage today.
Answers to the test give you a really good advantage. At least you know what the conflict is. And real quick, Jeff, and what you said, this Mason kid, there's something to be said about having a bone to pay, a chip on your shoulder when you're trying to make a team, how hard you run, knowing that if you make 3 mistakes, you get cut as an undrafted player.
Yeah.
You don't get the luxury of a draft pick to make 4 or 5 mental and physical mistakes and still be standing. The kid ran hard, but it also shows you their offensive commitment to running the football. I think this game's closer. It's inside the number. I take the underdog with the spread.
But by the way, real quick, shout out to one of the good people in the chat. Joe Cord says, so I'm the only one calling upset. Joe Cord, the Vikings could be playing the 85 Bears, and you would pick the Vikings. He loves his Vikings. So, yes, you are the only one.
And I love him for loving those Vikings, too.
He loves Sean. Really He's been a Viking fan since Sean beat John Elway and threw for 300 yards. I'm going to keep bringing that up.
Don't cheat me out of the other 87 or 84, dog. Okay. Don't just say 300. That number, if we're rounding off to the nearest, give me 400.
Hey, listen, the next game up, though, in Foxborough, Jeff, this was a game when it was Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick. Everybody listened to and wanted to watch today. Now it's between Mayo and a guy named Mike McDonald who left the Ravens, and it seems like this is just two completely different franchises now without Tom Brady, without Russell Wilson, et cetera, et cetera. No Legion of Boom, and on offense, they're just abysmal over there in New England. New England goes on the road, beats Cincinnati last week. Nobody could see that one coming probably, and then Seattle. Geno Smith played good at times, and I thought he played bad at times. They still have three very good wideouts. I like Kenneth Walker, the running game. Their defense seems to at least have improved on the D line. But going to Foxborough, this is going to be I'm interested to get your guys' take on this Seahawks Patriots game, Jeff.
Yeah, it's I think it's one of those, as Sean mentioned with the Patriots, they're not a real good offensive team, and they're tough blue collar on the defensive end, right?
I believe Walker's out, by the way, Jeff. I believe Kenneth Walker Jr. I believe is out.
And I felt like with them last week, he made some huge plays for them, and I didn't think they looked great offensively at times to Seattle. I'm still not a big Geno guy. I know a lot of people love the guy. I don't know that I totally see it there. I think this is a tough game to watch. I think this is first to 17 wins. I really do. I think under 39 is a play I would make in this game. I don't love a lot of totals this week, but under 39 looks really strong here. Where do the Seahawks go on offense now? Do they maybe try to throw the ball a little bit too much? Do the Patriots kind of bow their ears back? We know they don't have a ton of explosiveness, the Patriots, in that offense. I think this is a good old-fashioned rock fight, first to 17, 17-13. 16-10, something like that. I like the under in this game, under 39.
100% with you. I looked at this and said this may be the ugliest looking game. Well, until we get to the Giants-Washington game. That may be pretty ugly as well. But ugly, gutted out, field goal here, 3 and out, some punts. I'm just going with a better team. I mean, I know that's not betting philosophy, but the Seahawks are just a better team. And I don't know. I mean, with Jacoby Brissett and them grinding out, and they're at home, and it can be difficult. It's a long way to travel. I just think when all is said and done, this is an ugly game. And when we come out of it, you're not talking about it much during the week. You say, okay, it kind of turned out 13-10. But then the score I had in mind, Jeff, yesterday was 16-10. And I believe that's what it's going to look like here. But good on the Patriots for going on the road last week and what we thought was a Super Bowl caliber team in Cincinnati, but again, showed off why they always seem to start slow. But give me the Seahawks in a closer, uglier game than we think.
I agree with that as well. It's going to be a tight game. I'm just going to go with the Geno Smith experience. Giants Commanders. Many may call it the shit bowl today. I don't know what we're going to call this game. Jaden Daniels looks okay as a rookie on a bad team. Daniel Jones and the Giants just continue to be abysmal. Their O-line still gave up 5 sacks last week, led the league with sacks given up, and their defense, who we thought could be better, seems to have just no-showed in Minnesota. So where are you at with the shit bowl, Jeff?
Yeah, you look at both these teams. What do you take away from week one? I mean, they were both embarrassed, I thought. I think the Commanders have some major defensive problems. This team is bad defensively. So are the Giants, though. But I think I'm more enticed to want to back the Giants defense as opposed to the Commanders defense. Look, you're flipping a coin on quarterbacks here. Look, I'm not a Daniel Jones guy. Obviously like Jaden Daniels, but there's a lot of pressure on him to be successful. He didn't really look great last week. Again, not betting this. If I had to bet it, though, I would lean Giants. Again, I like their defense just a little bit more, but not a game I'll be watching. I don't think we'll see much of this. If you're watching Red Zone, I don't think there's going to be a bunch of offense in this game. Not a game I have interest in.
And Jeff, if you look at that injury report, thanks. Shout out to Dr. Jesse Morris, who's on our show weekly. You see there Malik Neighbors. We don't know where he's at. He's got a mild knee issue right there. So if you're a Giant bettor or looking for Daniel Jones to come out of the snide, you better make sure that at least Malik Neighbors is healthy. Also, if you just look around, there's a little sheet for all you guys for injuries and updates. We'll go through as we pick these games here for you, so you guys can have your DFS betting picks on the same page here. So, Sean, go ahead. The shit bowl.
Nothing needs to be said. This is a roll your eyes type of game. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be a really good player. The difference will be he'll make a few extra plays with his feet. He just will. He'll make a few extra plays with his feet, throws the ball down the field. He was a really good last year in LSU. The ball, of making sure he was one of the best in the country last year throwing the ball down the field. They'll make a few more plays. He'll make them with his feet. It's an ugly game. I don't trust the Giants, and if Neighbors isn't full, I don't know where they're getting points even against Washington. It's a pick'em game basically. What is it, 1.5 points? It's a field. I think this is another one that's not going to be a fun watch. Give me Washington in a close one. Daniel's legs, not Daniel Jones, who's got some feet. Jaden Daniels' feet will be the difference on a 3rd and 9 play. Get a first down, they go score.
It's a good point.
Field goals game too. Give me Jaden Daniels disrupting them with some off-schedule stuff.
I saw on that show Hard Knocks they had Caleb Williams learning how to slide. Jaden Daniels needs to do that as well. He had a couple of fumbles last week. He's got to learn to stop taking hits, also sliding. But yeah, he was very effective on the ground. Great point.
Yeah, I agree. Another shit bowl, man, possibility. Chargers, Panthers. This is great, Sean, for Jim Harbaugh. He can start the season at 2-0, but it is still the NFL. These guys get paid on the 1st and 15th as well. They're going to show up as professionals, we hope. We hope we see that. I expect you should. But the Chargers can instill their will and start off 2-0 and get this thing going right direction with the Jim Harbaugh era. Maybe Herbert shows up and has a bigger game, but if Harbaugh just continues to feel they need to run the football, put Joe Alt out there on an island, which kind of gave Max Crosby fits last week as a rookie, that's a pretty good O-line already. Even though they lost Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, Herbert seems to be okay. He only threw for 144 yards, but they didn't need to throw the football last week against the Raiders. This Carolina team seems to be a much worse franchise right now. The Chargers, I think, smother them on defense, and I think they instill their will on offense and do what Jim Harbaugh does. And I think I'm taking the Chargers here, 2 touchdowns at least.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm going to let you use your time to get to this pick. Last week we said the Chargers' goal this year is to be more physical, and they accomplished that last week. And Harbaugh could care less if his quarterback doesn't throw it 35 times. This is kind of the way he wants it, right? And Herbert's capable, as we know, of being a star player. Carolina was embarrassing last week. I would expect that they're going to play better, but if I'm a Charger fan, I'm just telling you. I saw this movie coming out of a bye week with the Texans going to Carolina last year, coming out of a bye week, and they got their ass kicked. They went into Carolina after this was a yawner, and everybody in Houston's a no-brainer. I can't wait till we win this one, and they got beat. So while it's earlier and it's not coming out of a bye week, Chargers do not waltz in there and take it for granted, or they'll be in it late. Chargers win. I take the Chargers with 4.5 points. I'm all in on that. I think they're going to beat them by more than that. But if you go in thinking like we're thinking, I'm telling you, it is the NFL, and there's a reason it's only 4.5. Even though you're at home, this is an abysmal team. But embarrassing yourself can do a lot the next week if you got any pride at all. They'll play. They're not going to get blown out like they did last week. They'll be better. The Chargers are just a better team. And if the Chargers are as disciplined as we say they're going to be under Harbaugh, they will not have overlooked a team that was humiliated last week and looked shitty. Expect the Chargers to win. But I'm telling you, you blink and think this game's over, they'll be – and you know how it is when you let a team that's not supposed to win hang around? It only takes 1 or 2 plays in the fourth quarter. You better keep this away from being a field goal game late. Yeah. Give me the Chargers, but I caution you to tread a little lightly going into Carolina thinking this is a shitty team.
This is a very interesting one. Next.
Jeff, who do you pick? Who are you picking, Jeff?
Yeah, real quick on this one. I get what you're saying, Sean and Coach. I don't see it though. I don't know what makes us think. What does Carolina do here? They don't have the talent to just fix things. This is a group that has shown their ass, as they say. Bryce Young is not a good quarterback. He just isn't. I don't know how else to say that. And I'll tell you this. I don't think I ever said this in the last 10 years. I almost trust the Chargers now. I like the run game. I think their defensive line's terrific. I like their secondary. This Panther group won't have Derek Brown, who's one of the only talented players they have today on that defensive line. You'd have to figure Dobbins and Edwards have big days. They give up 180 yards on the ground last week to the Saints. I think Herbert makes some big throws. I like Lab McConkey. I think this is one of those prototypical 27-10 type of games. And again, we're not laying 10.5 here. We're laying 4.5, 5. I like the Chargers a whole lot here.
That's what concerns me. Why are we laying 4.5 points?
Yeah,
bothers me a little bit, Jeff. A little bit. It bothers me.
Yeah, I think that just the thought is it's a game for the Chargers where we don't have much. I mean, they have been a group that play a lot of close games, but they're a road favorite too, and this is bet up to 5.5. So at home, this would mean they're probably 8, 9, 10-point favorites. So.
Good point. Yep.
Next one, man, interesting one, and I want to read you something before we get this going. The Browns versus Jaguars, okay? Very interesting. In lieu of a new allegation versus Deshaun Watson, I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of insight. The Browns removed the clause from Deshaun Watson's contract this offseason that would protect him in the event of future suspensions. So if Watson is suspended again, Cleveland could reclaim guaranteed money back. So, which is a smart move. We're going to talk about this on the show tomorrow, but I'm very interested in your real quick 1-minute deal, Sean, so we can get to the picks. But where are you at with Deshaun Watson? Another allegation has come forward. I've been saying this for years. You and I have been saying it on our shows. I don't think he can play with that over his head lingering. I just don't think he can play the position at a very high level. I think that it's showing. This is a figment of the imagination of the guy that we once saw in Houston. This is not even close.
It's almost like he's disengaged from football. It's weird watching his body language. And I think
all of us would be, right? 20 cases.
Well, and self-inflicted. So, it's hard to feel sorry for that. So, hard guy to root for. And having, begging out of here in Houston. And listen, think about when he threw for 4,800 yards and led the league in passing. He was a top 5 or 6 player in the league at that position. Now he's not even in the top 15. He's just a guy. Yeah. I think he's a big reason why they're not winning like they are. I think Flacco, but there's an energy. Something's missing. Now, is he capable of going throwing for 304? Yes, he's a talented guy, but something's missing between the talent, where the head is, and it's a smart move on Cleveland. And there's no doubt in my mind that Andrew Berry, the GM, the front office, the head coach, that when they sit in their meetings in private are thinking, did we fuck this up? Did we make the right? Not even just the off the field stuff. I'm talking about just as a quarterback. Yeah. Something's missing from his aggressive approach. And Cleveland, I have as a playoff team. I like Jacksonville in the game. Cleveland, they're just something that bothered him. Jacksonville's got their inconsistencies. Deshaun Watson has become just a guy at quarterback in this league, which if you'd have told me this 2 years ago, even when he was going through this, I'm like, nah, guy's Teflon. He doesn't give a shit about anything but going out. And he has not validated the trade. And if this keeps up, it'll go down as one of the worst trades in NFL history if he doesn't get better.
I said North American sports history.
I love Cleveland Browns fans. I do. They deserve a better play. I think Deshaun Watson's just a guy now with ability that can do it once in a while. But if you said, hey, would you bring him back and use the pick on somebody else, Stroud? Hell no. CJ Stroud, and him, even at his best, Stroud's a better player already in year 2. I think Deshaun Watson's I think there's something slowing this team up, and he may be part of that on the field.
Jeff, before Jeff breaks his game down, I want to be honest here. The Jaguars on offense are going to be outmatched by the Browns on defense. The problem The problem I have is when you're inept and bad on offense, your defense starts to lose faith. And can Trevor Lawrence steal a few throws, and can ETN, if he's playing, still a few runs against a loaded roster on defense, just as the Cowboys did last week? Because you can see that Cleveland Browns defense played great last week, and they were put into shithole positions by the offense and Deshaun Watson. As long as if Cleveland does that again, I can see the Jags still in this one easily and giving Trevor Lawrence short fields. So I wouldn't fuck with it on DFS side because I think it's two defenses that are going to stop each other for most of the game. But on the betting side, I'm leaning towards the Jags still in this one on a money line just because of the Deshaun Watson factor. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, yeah, I will say, I mean, I mentioned I really like that under with the Patriots in that game. This is another under I was very much interested in. I think the Browns defense will bounce back. They were just, again, as you said, put in some bad positions. That's a good defense on paper. I think what the Browns need to do is they need to breathe. They need to sit down in this game and run the football. Deshaun Watson can't throw the ball 45 times. But again, they were behind. They had to do what they had to do. They're not exactly real talented at the running back position, but they got to get behind that offensive line, run the football. I think that takes away, and that helps the total as well. We know the Jags will struggle to move the ball against a better defense this week. I had this again, first to 20 wins. I think this is a kind of a grinded out game. I think the Jags will find a way to win the game. I'd probably lay it, but this is a one that's going to be a low scoring game to me.
Yeah, we got about 15 minutes, guys. So we got 3,000 people in here watching overall on all platforms. Appreciate everybody. Pound that like, subscribe, become a member. We're going to try to get through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, including the Monday night game. So we got about 18 minutes to get through. So we'll keep them at about 3 minutes per pick and get through it so we can get to Jeff's pick of the week as well as Sean and I predictions of the week to end the show. Let's get to the Raiders-Ravens game starting here in about 20 minutes on the West Coast and on the East Coast if you're there. Raiders-Ravens going to Baltimore. Antonio Pierce and the boys have to travel across the country. Sean Salisbury's favorite team growing up, the now Las Vegas Raiders. Max Crosby dealt with Joe Alt last week, and for the first time in my career, I saw Max struggle a bit versus a isolation block. Where are you at with the Ravens and this Raiders game? Minshew I don't believe Minshew's the guy as a starter. I think you got to get Devontae Adams involved early. And I think the Raiders on defense are going to just have to spy Lamar Jackson in some sort and make him throw the football. And if they have to throw the football 41 times again, I don't think it's very conducive for the Ravens on offense. But I'm interested to see the mesh between Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. That's the football thing, Jeff. Take over the betting.
Yeah, this is one I bet last night. I laid it with the Baltimore Ravens here at home in a bounce back spot. A couple extra days to prepare here, coming off a game in which, look, for as bad at times as they played, for as bad as Lamar looked at times, for as bad at times as that defense looked, they still had an opportunity, and in the last seconds by an inch or two, lost that game. So I think there's a lot of good things to take out of it. They have to be licking their lips at this defensive team that they're going to play today. This Raider team really struggled on the ground last week. They gave up over 6 yards a carry. I think we see a big dose of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. That defense, I think, will bounce back. We know on paper that's still one of the better defenses in the league. Throw in the fact that you're back in B-More here. Again, this is one that I really liked. I thought this was around 27-13, 28-10. I'm going to lay it with the Ravens here. They generally, against bad teams, take care of business. I like it.
You know how I am, man. I'm a diehard Raider fan, and it pains me to say this was one of the easiest picks of the week for me. I think Baltimore boat races them. I do. And to me, the boat race is a double-digit victory. I hate saying it because I love my Raiders, but I also am not going to be a homer just because it's the thing to do. Baltimore will bounce back. They'll be more physical in this game. And the Baltimore Ravens are not starting the season 0-2. They win this game, and I'm laying those points as well.
Yeah, I agree. Next game on the slate, I'm going to roll the Ravens. Obviously, I think they'll even play. They'll hopefully Todd Monken and that offense does some things to blend the offense with Derrick Henry, and I'm curious to see that game today. Rams Cardinals. Stafford looked great last week. Nakua is out though for at least 6 weeks. Our doctor Jesse Morris thinks it could be longer. I just don't know if Cooper Kupp's going to be overused, Jeff and Sean. As we know, Cooper Kupp's been riddled with injuries over the last few years. Can you just focus on him? They got a rookie, and I believe his name's Whitfield or Whitworth. I'm not sure his name. He's a young rookie kid who can possibly replace Nakua if they feed him the ball. They got a couple other serviceable receivers over there. They got to get Kyron Williams running the football, in my opinion, and doing that thing. Their D-line's better than I thought. I think they'll play well on defense. I like the Rams because I'm a Rams fan, but the number is really alarming to me, Jeff. It's in Arizona. I get it. But I like Stafford and the boys to go into there. I just don't know if Kyler Murray can I think he'll score early and be very hard to defend early, but then later in the game, people figure that guy out, if you've seen in the history of him in the NFL so far. So I'm taking the Rams straight up. But where are you at with this, Jeff?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are agreeing with you. My concern here, though, is, and I've said before, I really like Arizona. I think they're kind of an undervalued team. The problem is, I mean, do I think they can actually beat the Rams? Not really. I mean, Kyler Murray's 4-10 against the spread in divisional home games in his career. He struggled against McVay and the Rams. Throw in the fact, though, that the Rams are dealing with all sorts of issues, as you talked about. Nakua out, Avila and Notebloom up front. Are going to be out in this game. I hope this doesn't turn into one of those Matt Stafford gets sacked 5 or 6 times because they don't have anybody up front. That's a brittle offensive line to me. I don't trust it. And when you can't get it done in the trenches, you're going to lose. You're going to lose long term. So I wish I was getting like 3 here, though. I'm not. They have to win the game, Arizona. And look, I don't trust them to win games. I want them getting 5, 6 points, even 4 points. The fact they just have to win, I'm out on this one.
Yeah. I wouldn't bet it, but I believe the Rams will end up going 0-2 and still find a way to make the playoffs. I do. I think Arizona's going to win the game. I do. I think Marvin Harrison obviously has to get you continue to get him involved, but Kyler Murray may be able to buy some time. And the question is, keeping Matt Stafford upright. Injuries do matter, and you may have to overuse Cooper Kupp. As much as I like McVay and the Rams, what is it? A 1-point game? I think.
Yeah.
The Rams are favored by a point. I just think in a battle at home, if this was in LA, I'd flip the switch. But at Arizona, regardless of what they're, I just think that they're worth a field goal at home. I like Arizona to make a few, and they showed me a little bit last week. Now they didn't close it out, but I think Arizona wins a football game in LA. And don't bury LA. All the media and stuff's going to get going. Even if they lose this game, they're going to have a chance. It kind of turned out the Detroit game. We all said it was going to be close, right? And I had Detroit, but I think Arizona wins this game. I think the Rams are 0-2, and Arizona takes one at home.
Keep in mind, last 6 matches between these teams, LA's won 5, all by a touchdown or more. I think the over has some value. I think we could see some points in this game. Cardinals aren't great on defense, and I think they're kind of up, And
they protect the quarterback is the key here today, meaning the Rams. Can they get to the quarterback and disrupt him?
Look at what Arizona did last week. Marvin Harrison did nothing, and what they scored, 28 points. So, there's something there with that offense.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet this game, though. I don't like the number anyway, but I just out and out at home, I'll take Arizona.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm taking the Rams. Jeff, he broke it down. Let's dive into the Steelers Broncos. Bo Nix rookie campaign continues with Sean Payton. Looked spotty last week against Seattle. This week they're going to play maybe a top 3 defense in the NFL, led by Patrick Queen. Where are you at with this? Justin Fields will get the nod again tonight, so to speak, Sean, using a baseball term. Russell Wilson still is down, maybe more serious than people think. Justin Fields got to show Mike Tomlin that he can do it. I like the Steelers on defense against a rookie quarterback all day long. That's my gut instinct telling me. But Jeff, let's dive into it first. Sean will wrap it up. The Steelers Broncos here in about 15 minutes kicks off.
Yeah, this actually is a 4:25 game, so I think we got plenty of time for this. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we're on the next slate now. We're on the afternoon slate. Sorry. All right.
Yeah. So DraftKings, there's a couple of books that have 3s out there with the Broncos. I like getting 3 here with the Denver Broncos. I think the defense is getting there. Mike Tomlin 0-3 in his career against Sean Payton. I thought Bo Nix had some things that I liked last week. I don't like the Steelers offense. I think it's an inefficient group. You look at it again last week. How many field goals? They have 5 or 6 field goals. You're not going to win kicking field goals. I don't care if it's college, NFL. You've got to score touchdowns. I have no interest in that. Again, throwing the fact that I'm getting Denver at home. I don't like the Steelers playmakers at all. Give me Nix over Fields. Give me the 3. I actually really like Denver. Denver +3.
Yeah, I'm on the Denver side as well. As much as I like Pittsburgh's defense, I just think that their offense is too schizophrenic. They're up and I don't trust. Can they sustain drives? I would be saying the same thing. Like I said, if what Russ Wilson was going in there, I'd still take the Denver Broncos. I think Bo Nix makes more plays than Fields does today.
Wow.
And I do. And while Pittsburgh's defense, is always a concern, traveling across the country, going on the road, give me Denver in a close one. I think Bo Nix will continue. I told you guys, I think he's a sneaky offensive player of the year, or rookie of the year on the offensive side this year, because of the mad scientist that is Sean Payton. I like Denver at home in this one because of the Steelers' lack of consistency on offense. I'm going Broncos.
Interesting. The big one.
Two straight road games for the Steelers as well.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Interesting. Chiefs Bengals. This is not the Joe Burrow led Bengals that we're accustomed to going into play Kansas City and beat them or anything like that. You know, Jamar Chase is disgruntled, doesn't want to even sign a long-term contract now. He thinks he's being lowballed by a lowball organization. So it's player empowerment plus a cheap organization battling head to head. We don't know how that's going to recover. T. Higgins is most likely out. I don't know if he's up or not. I don't know, Bailey, real quick, if the injury report that Jesse Morse has him on there or not. If T. Higgins is a go, I would pick him on the DFS side heavy because that's probably Burrow's most comfortable threat right now, even though Jamar Chase is playing, but I don't know how much he trusts him right now. So it's going to be very interesting. No Mixon. I think the Chiefs defense is a top 5 defense in the NFL. You know, it's tough to go. I agree with Jeff. Burrow starts, I think he's 1-8 to start in his first 2 games every single season. I just don't, they're a slow start organization. They get going late every single season, and then it seems Joe Burrow gets hurt late in the year. It just seems like something's missing. They might have caught, you know, I don't know, Jeff. I don't know, Sean, where we are with this Bengals organization, but the Chiefs seem to be like, all right, we're just going to keep going from where we left off last year. I'm going to go Kelsey heavy on the DFS side today against the Bengals defense that cannot defend the tight end. And I'm gonna have to roll with the Chiefs today.
Yeah, just straight. I mean, they may get inside this number, but Bengals were, and I love the Bengals going into the season. They just looked lethargic last week, and I don't know if they have enough guys to make plays in Kansas. Kansas City's defense carried them last year, and we saw that they came up with some plays good, and I love Spagnuolo. Listen, the Chiefs are just a better team, and you're going into Kansas City. The Bengals are another team that'll start out 0-2, and then Joe will roll off about 8 in a row. They'll find their way to get better. Kansas City Chiefs win this game. Now, the number, what is it, 6.5, Jeff? Are we still there? 7 or 6.5? It makes me a little nervous because you know what kind of clutch player Burrow is, but right now, talent alone, if who has the ball last, if it's a tie or close, put it on Kansas City. Give me the Chiefs at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting any value taking the Bengals and throwing the fact that you're not going to have Higgins. He's not expected to play. It was lost last week, but the Bengals gave up 170 yards on the ground, 120 to Ramondre Stevenson. I'd expect Pacheco to have a big day here. And as Coach JB said, and I'll keep saying, I have no interest in Joe Burrow. I wouldn't care if Higgins is playing today. I don't think he's healthy. He is not good in the first 3 games of the season, and it is a consistent thing year after year. Now you got to go play a Chief team with a couple extra days that they had to prepare off a win. You're not getting any value you're not getting 8 or 9 here. You're going to have a field goal game here. I don't like it. Anything under 7, Chiefs.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's get to the Sunday night game, Sean, in your backyard. Caleb Williams, one of your alum, USC Trojan alum, Heisman Trophy winner, is headed to C.J. Stroud, and who I think could be a top 2 or 3 ball spinner in the NFL already in year 2. Where are you at with this game? Does Caleb struggle again on the Sunday night slate? And does C.J. Stroud get Diggs, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins, and Mitchie, and Woods, and Mixon, and a loaded lineup going? I would hope to think Texans go win this one going away. But it is the NFL. I don't know if Adunze is a slate or not. I don't think Adunze is a little bit banged up. I don't know if Caleb will have him. Keenan Allen's there, obviously. We'll see. I don't know where you are with this one, but go ahead, Jeff. Pick this one, Sunday night football game.
Yeah, look, I think this is one of those cases of I don't think the Bears can keep up. I think Houston's offense is really good. I think the Bears offense is a major work in progress. Again, this was probably the worst offensive performance of the week last week. There were times where Caleb maybe made a play or two, but I don't like their offensive line. Their skill position players are decent. They're better, obviously, but you have a rookie quarterback now going on the road as well. Had some real fluky things happen with a bunch of turnovers last week for the Bears that are not likely to happen again. Houston, though, is a really good football team, and adding Mixon, they have so many weapons. You're also, again, under 6 here. I think the Texans win by more than a touchdown. Not a game I'll probably be betting. I don't like the Bears offense. It's going to be a while till I want to back them.
You know what? I think that resilience last week for the Bears to win that game after they did not pass the ball well. It's going to sound odd. If I'm the Texans defense, I want to force Caleb Williams to beat me in the pocket.
Yeah.
Like I saw Richardson make some scramble plays. I just get a little nervous about broken off-schedule plays, which is a Williams special. The Texans win. I'm laying those points. It's a night game. I can't begin to tell you guys about the buzz in this city.
Yeah.
They didn't even play their best game last week all around, and they were really good. And their bandwidth on offense, I mean, it's going to only expand more and more and more. And I will tell you guys real quick, and I'll get out, is that, I've only been to like 3 in-person NFL games and have not stayed for one through the entire since I quit working at ESPN.
Yeah.
And since I was done working, and even before then, the only games I went to was when I did it for Countdown. This is I'm going tonight. Watch Caleb, watch the Texans. I have not been – I want to watch it on TV and hear the broadcasters and take notes. It's not that I don't like – I just prefer it on TV. Yeah. I have not gone to a football game in person, NFL, college I have, and watched a full 4-quarter game in person because it takes away from me wanting to dial in. But I am going tonight, and it'll be the Texans will win the game. I like that the Bears are going to get better. Texans just have too many weapons. This score probably not as close as some want it. It's over that number. There's no doubt.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of us, we don't go outside Urlacher and Weddle. We don't really like after you play. You're like,
I don't want to go. I don't like going.
Yeah,
but a buddy of mine invited me, and it's above my pay grade, so I'm going to go and sit in a suite and have fun. But normally, I'm going to be. I don't know what the poors are doing. I'm sitting in a suite. I'm kidding. That's what a buddy of mine always used to say. He goes, "Oh, Sean, you're sitting in a seat. Well, I'm up here where the big money is. You're sitting down there with the poors." Yeah, I like being with the poors. That's who I am.
By the way, soon the poors are going to be in the rich suite too. Jeff Nader's flying out here. We're going to be in your neck of the woods, Miramar. And we're going to go Del Mar, and we're going to go the horse races that I won with Pat at his golf thing a couple weeks ago. I'll send a video to you.
Please do. Yeah, so I don't go to games, man. So I'm going tonight. Texans.
Hey, last game, Monday night game, and then we'll get to our predictions and Jeff's pick of the week. And then I'll show you a DFS card that I'm going to play that you can't lose. Let's show the DFS real quick so you guys can get it in real quick before the game start. This one right here, guys, I don't know, but where are you at with this? I'm taking Lamar Jackson to have more than 216.5. I just think it'll hit. I think Stafford will have 255 plus. That's just my personal opinion. And then, and I'm also taking CeeDee Lamb 90 yards and 90.5 yards. I think Dak Prescott will show up. He's got paid. He's excited. And I'm also going Kelsey heavy, and I'm going Saquon, Jeff's guy, in Philly this week, because I believe A.J. Brown is out. I think they'll focus on him getting the ball a little bit more. So these are my DFS. Go on over to Prize Picks and check that out, and head on over to winnable.com/slap-picks. Monday Night Football game, Jeff, real quick. Your Eagles, Falcons, we don't know about Cousins. We don't know. I think they're trying to force Penix to play. Sean, I believe that's real quick, but let's do a 2-minute breakdown on this one, and then we'll get to our predictions and Jeff's pick of the week.
Yeah, real quick. Losing A.J. Brown obviously hurts considerably. I think the Eagles still have enough to win the game, but that defense did not look good. They need to be better. Jalen Hurts has made some bad throws. Here's why I went in this game. I don't play player props really ever. I have to really like something to play it. The Eagles signed Jahan Dotson about 3-4 weeks ago. He is going to get some targets in this game. You'd have to figure Devontae Smith's going to be bracketed. It's going to open up Dotson. I played John Dotson 25 or more receiving yards. I think he could be a guy, 5 catches for 40 yards tomorrow night. He's going to get some targets in this football game. And this is why you brought him in, to be your third receiver. They needed it. I think this is the kind of game you get from Dotson. A tough game, though, to call. I think the Eagles will win at home. They're honoring Nick Foles, who is the greatest quarterback in the history of the franchise. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. Shout out to Big Dick Nick, a hero in Philadelphia.
I got Philadelphia winning. Cousins isn't healthy. And if this keeps up for 3 or 4 more weeks and they play like they did last week, you're going to start to hear, well, when are we playing Penix, which is not right for Cousins, but I just don't think he's healthy. I don't. I think Philadelphia wins, and I think the game will be taken care of by the middle of the third quarter.
Yeah, I agree. It's time for our predictions real quick. We all have one prediction that we'll give you guys. NFL predictions of the week. Shout out to Bailey on the 1s and 2s behind the scenes. Sean, I'll start it off, man. I'm going to go with 16 quarterbacks last week threw for under 200 yards. I'm going to go with 32 quarterbacks this week going for under 300 yards. I don't believe we have one 300-yard passer this week. Book it. I think NFL quarterback play is at all-time low. I don't believe we'll reach one 300-yard passer this week. That's my bold prediction of the week. Jeff, go ahead. Give us one.
I'm just going to give you my favorite play of the week. I like the Kansas City Chiefs -6 against the Bengals. I will fade Joe Burrow and that offense. I don't think they're very good. I think Pacheco has a big game. I think this is a 28-17 type of game. I'm going to lay it with the Chiefs.
All right, I'm gonna go JB, and we don't talk about what our predictions are beforehand, and it's odd that you're going that way. I'm going the other way. I think the trend is ended right away. I'd set the over-under at 3 over 300 yards, and I'm taking the over. I'm saying more than 3 guys throw for 300-plus yards today because there may be some blowouts and you're going to throw it. Give me at least 3 guys throwing for over 300 yards on this Sunday and Monday.
All right, so if we were to pick our 3 to end this show, who would they be? I would give you 3 that only 3 that I think could possibly do it today would probably be Herbert, Stafford, and possibly Mahomes.
Stafford, Burrow, they're going to try to run it too, and Mahomes, and I'll tell you, somebody, possibly even Cousins, because they're playing from behind. He's got those weapons, even though he's not healthy. I think you're going to get 3 or 4 of them, but I'd go, there's some obvious ones, and maybe you get a guy like, maybe Geno Smith has a monster game throwing the football. Who knows? And they'll, like to throw it around. But I think Burrow's going to put up some yards because they're going to have to chase. That's what
The other guy I like real quick is Amon St. Brown. He had a very abysmal 3-catch week last week against the Rams. I think Goff will force feed him tonight, get him the ball. I think he could have a big game against the Bucs.
There may be 300 there too.
Goff could be another 300-yard guy right there in golf. But man, it's been a great show. The kickoffs are about to start in 1 minute. We got this done. Jeff, any last words?
Nope. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Love doing it. Always appreciate your guys' passion and insight.
Hey, good luck on your betting with Jeff. Go follow the True Sit Down Crime Pod every single day on YouTube and on TikTok with Jeff Nadu. And then every morning on iHeartRadio with the Sean Salisbury Show. And then tomorrow, the Coach AB Show with Big Smitty will be loaded lineup tomorrow. Jeff Nadu joins us Mondays and Fridays on that show as well. And we'll have Sean King, Big Mac McChesney. We'll have a whole thing, right? Break down Colorado and the horrible game against Colorado State last night that I witnessed, and all things Florida State. 0-3 to start after being undefeated the year prior. I think it's one of the first teams ever to do so. We're going to break all that down on the Coach AB Show with Big Smitty tomorrow, plus tonight's NFL game. So shout out to everybody. Jeff, Sean, love you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Love you too, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
The last chance cube. Let's go. And I just cannot wait to bring over 60 years of knowledge and experience to not only the novice football fan, Sean, but to the veteran football coach as well.
You love it, you better live it, drink it, eat it, smoke it, and then every now and again wake up with it laying next to you.
The premier football coaching show on the internet.